Yeah.
I think it's an internal conditioning to think a different way than you're already thinking. If you pray once a week, you're probably not thinking about God that much. You know, if you're only leaving a specific amount of time, you know, it's like a hobby. It's like working out. If you work out for, what would you say the average prayer is? A minute and a half?
Average, well...
2 minutes? Finding somebody that does a 20-minute prayer several times, either a day or in the week, is hard to find.
Yeah.
It's usually, like, even when we're in a Bible study, God, thank you for this, this, this. I pray for this, this, and this. All right, bye. You know? So I just think, like, if that's the amount of time, if you were working out for 3 minutes once a week, you would never get anywhere. You know? So it's like it's a muscle that you need to work out, or else you're never going to get stronger. You're never going to build it past what you're expecting.
Yeah. Three, two, one. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trick Sticks, the community of conversation. I'm your host, Gabriel Brown, and welcome back, y'all. We are back, and this is our spring break podcast. We start...
See, that was on cue.
Case in point. We start school back literally tomorrow, but we gonna do this podcast. We gonna do this episode, and I have a very special guest with me today. This is Ariana Gabriel. She got my last name, y'all.
Wait, what?
She got my first name as her last name. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, this is my girlfriend, Ariana, and I haven't had her on the podcast yet. We recorded an episode last semester, and or last season,
and it got deleted.
It got deleted. By deleted meaning I lost the SD card that had our audio and video files on it.
Tragic.
So you can't do much with that. But here we are. We're running it back, and I'm really glad to actually have her on the show and just be able to share our personal experiences in our faith, how God is growing us individually, and what that means for our emotional, mental, and spiritual maturity in God. We've experienced a lot, but that's enough about that. I'm gonna let her speak for herself. So Ariana, who are you? What year are you in college? And what are you studying in college as well?
I thought we already did this. Okay. I don't know how to respond to who am I.
Who are you? Say your name. Say what you say. Where you from? Say like.
So like five.
Just say. Let you say your own name. That's going to carry the weight. But my name is Gabriel Brown. I hail from the city of ATL. You don't hail from ATL. That's how I feel. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'm Ariana. I'm from Southern California, and I'm a junior at High Point, and I'm double majoring in psych and entrepreneurship. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, word. That's awesome. Well, honestly, let's jump right in.
Okay.
Let's waste no time. 6 minutes. Okay, bet. So my question is, thank you.
You're okay.
I like this visor. My question for you is, where are you at right now in life? Just like catch us up.
I couldn't do it. My arm was getting tired.
That's fine. I'll just have a side of my face that looks like a light bulb.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where am I at in life right now?
Yeah. I guess really the main question is like, where are you at right now, or how has God been revealing himself to you recently? And that can encompass just whatever you've been going through recently in life, recent changes, development in school, like career, desires, dreams, all those things. Where has God been present in your life in this season?
I think within the last year, God has definitely been telling me that I need to completely not rely on myself.
Mm.
So, here's a small example. Being a double major, you have to, it's like all your extra credit stuff plus the credits for each major. So it's like I have to make sure I take enough classes so I'm going to graduate in 4 years because I don't want to be here forever.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with High Point or anything like that. But but like I feel like it's very easy for me to like control everything or like try and control it and like make sure that if it happens it's gonna be on my accord, and that's not necessarily how it's supposed to go. So I feel like God's been opening me up to that a lot this last year.
And how do you think it's going? Like what are some of the, I guess, what are some of the good things? Let's start with the good things. What are some of the good things that you feel like has come from that change in that year?
I think like even like it takes the pressure off of yourself to do everything perfectly or everything right, because it's not gonna be off of your own stuff.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of like that story where the guy's like keeps asking God for help, like save me from all this, whatever, and then he dies or something like that, and he's like, God, I asked you to save me, and God's like, I gave you 3 chances, but like you had to like at some point you also had to do something about it.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's like a balance of that, of like I can't just become some like couch potato that's just deciding to not do anything with their life, but also like I don't need to put so much pressure on myself at the same time to be something or like push myself to go somewhere where I might not even want to go in a couple years or a few months or something like that, or where God wants me.
Yeah.
But
that's good. Yeah, no, I really relate to a lot of that too, especially I think kind of have an idea of what I'm going to do when I come into college, but just allowing some of my own personal desires, whatever they may be rooted in at the time, to just kind of like strip away and just let God show me like, this is actually what you really want, but you think it's going to look like this, or you think it should look like this. I relate to that a lot. That's good. And what are some of the challenges that you feel like you've been trying to work through in that? Like, what have been some of like the bumps that God's been walking you through with that? Because I can imagine that's not like a very linear path of growth.
Of like surrendering
yeah.
I would say, wait, I forgot your question.
What has been, so you explained like what are some of the benefits and like the things that come with that. What are some of like the what have been some of the challenges you've had to like overcome, like the rough patches of like changing your thinking, allowing God to work through you, like you said, surrendering? Like, what have been some of the challenges of that?
I feel like it's more of like a conditioning your brain than anything else.
Yeah.
So like my sophomore year, I controlled everything. So I like did not, like if I was getting an internship, what I was doing, what my plans were after college, like how I can make the most out of my 4 years, so when I leave I'm not like a delinquent that like just, I don't know, was like lazy and didn't set myself up. But I tried to control it so much that I left no room for God and his opinion in my plans. And so I just decided, there was a couple things. I think I kind of just I got really burnt out on school. So things have just been like hard motivation-wise.
Yeah.
But it took me failing on my own accord to like have to, because like there was too much pride with it too, of like, these are my own things, this is what I plan, this is how I want it to go, and it had to be more of a dramatic check from God for me to actually decide to make like a life change. And then it was situational, so it's not like everything changed overnight and then I was perfectly like surrendering everything to him, but through each situation and through like praying on each situation, it slowly is getting better. Not that it's perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you said something really interesting there. One of the ways that you helped, well, you said first reconditioning your mind, right? Which is that's really huge, because like the way you perceive information, the way that you habitually go about things is going to impact your trajectory. And so the only way to honestly change that is to change the way you think, change your mindset about that. So, which is honestly that's in the Bible. That's Romans 12:2. Be transformed, or do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will. And like you were saying, like you saw like, I guess in a sense, like the deficiencies, and where like, okay, God can really fill this right here, and he can do it like way better than I can. And you said something else that was really good, and I want to talk more about this because two things after that. The first thing of the two things is, you said that you wanted to take some sort of like responsibility, like not necessarily like leave it up to God, like that story of like God sending people to save this person, and God and the man expecting a God to just lift him up out of the situation.
Yeah.
And I do think that a lot of times, like even myself, I can over spiritualize my faith and forget that there is also like a responsibility that rests on my shoulders to like, hey, I need to do my part, you know? I recently posted this video asking prayer requests for people, and a lot of the prayers that I received were people wanting to get closer to God. And I feel like I should make a video about this, or maybe this will be the video about it. But a lot of people have been asking and seeking prayer to go closer to God, and I feel like a lot of those prayers can be answered simply by just asking a few questions, you know? Like, how have you already incorporated God into your life currently? Like, what are you doing now to make God a part of your life? Because I mean, like, we can all pray for growing closer to God, but I feel like some people who are asking for that prayer, you know, like they hadn't prayed in like a few months, you know what I'm saying? Like they haven't read their word, and
like a proactive
like seeking, you know, like the word says, seek and you shall find.
Like, oh, this guy's really like strong in his faith. Let me have him pray for me that I get closer to God.
Ooh, yeah.
And then something's going to happen because he prayed it, but I don't feel like I'm a good enough Christian that my prayer will be heard by God. But this guy's got it together, so why don't I have him pray and him do it?
Yeah. That's good. Yeah, like, it's really easy sometimes if you see someone else living out their faith to start kind of like put them on a pedestal and like make that the epitome of like what I should strive for. I think there's a good side of that, which is like you see encouragement by how someone else lives. But there's another thing when you make the walk of someone else responsible for the outcome of your own walk with God. I feel like that's one of the things that God's been working on with me as well.
Right.
But what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I think too, like, this is not a religion where you have some like mediator. Like you confess. What?
I'm getting rid of flies.
Oh.
I don't want flies around my girl, you feel me? Ew. Exactly.
Anyways, like, this isn't a religion where you have somebody to talk to that's like the I don't know what the word is. I know, like, in some religions there's a very high upheld person who is like the mediator between, and so like you go to that person to talk to God, and then it's like people can do the same thing, like, oh, Gabe's a cool Christian, like, he seems like he's got it together, so, and it seems like the way that he talks about God, they're close, so let me use their relationship to get closer to God. You waving at someone?
No, I was just with a little bug.
Oh.
Yeah.
But that's not how this religion works.
Yeah.
Which is kind of nice, too. Well, I think it is.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
Well, I was just gonna say.
Oh, were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's taking it into your own hands instead of making it be completely about the church. Because if you're only going to church on Sunday and you're only going to Bible study and then that's all you're doing and there's no prayer, there's nothing done on your side, what's to say that you're going to change your behaviors or what you do?
Yeah.
Like, there's some statistic about, like, you only get 3% out of a sermon or something like that. I'm pulling that out of my butt. I'm not 100% sure it's 3%, but there's only a specific percentage, because you can only sit and listen to somebody lecture for so long, and then there's going to be, like, nuggets of goodness that they're going to say that you're just going to start, like, thinking more and deeper about and applying. And then you're going to miss the next 3 points.
Yeah.
So, are you changing that?
No, I'm just changing the direction so it's capturing sound from this way instead of that way. I thought about that. Anyway, keep going.
I did too.
Yeah.
So it's just... What?
Sound.
You're blocking it?
I'm trying to, yeah.
Okay.
Taking responsibility, taking ownership, like, and specifically the sermons, like, if we're only doing so much, like going to church and doing the Bible study, then we're not going to be able to necessarily see any lasting change. Like, there's something that's required on our part to actually go forward and... Yeah.
I think it's an internal conditioning to think a different way than you're already thinking. If you pray once a week, you're probably not thinking about God that much. You know, if you're only leaving a specific amount of time, you know, it's like a hobby. It's like working out. If you work out for, what would you say the average prayer is? A minute and a half?
Average, well...
2 minutes?
My
yours.
My prayers used to be, my prayers, and when I say this, I mean this in a humble way, but my prayers used to be very, very short, very to the point. There was a lot of room for talking to the God, but not a lot of room for listening to what he would say in response.
But I think, like,
yeah.
Finding somebody that does a 20-minute prayer several times, either a day or in the week, is hard to find.
Yeah.
It's usually, like, even when we're in a Bible study, God, thank you for this, this, this. I pray for this, this, and this. All right, bye. You know? So I just think, like, if that's the amount of time, if you were working out for 3 minutes once a week, you would never get anywhere. You know? So it's like, it's a muscle that you need to work out, or else you're never going to get stronger. You're never going to build it past what you're expecting.
Yeah.
It's like you can't make an omelet without cracking some eggs.
Yeah, you gotta crack some eggs with this. That's really good, babe. That's awesome. I'm just thinking about what you said, because that's so true even for myself. Like, I remember, like, one of the things my dad reminds me often is, like, you know, it's good that you're praying, it's because you're writing a lot and talking to God a lot, but make sure you're leaving room for him to speak back to you. And, like, it was actually over winter break. Like, I was praying, and he was like, just remember to leave some space for him to speak back to you. And what I did was I went into my room, and then I just sat there. And I was just like, okay, Lord, whatever you want to say to me, just I'm here. I'm listening. And I sat there for like 10 minutes. And God shared
You're like, hello?
God, I was serious though. And God put a friend on my heart to call. And I called him. And I had no idea what I was going to talk about, what I was going to say. I was like, hey, how are you? And he was like, oh, yo, man, I'm doing good. And it was like silent for a bit. And I was like, what you up to, man? And then we started talking a little bit more. And this friend, I think he shared with me something, or I shared with him something that God was revealing with me. And I shared it with him. And, like, you could tell on the other side of the phone, like, he needed to hear that. And then he started speaking. And I was like, dang. And then God shared something with me through him, which is about my podcast. That's when I learned, like, okay, I don't need to start this business right now. Let me focus on the crop that I have right here.
Right.
And I was fixating so much trying to do it one way. And it's funny, like, a lot of the answers that God gives me sometimes comes from when I'm not looking for an answer for that particular thing. It comes from when I'm doing something else that he already asked me to do. And then he'll just randomly, like, feed me an answer. And it feels random, but it really is orchestrated. Like, it really... And I think this is one thing. I'm never going to say that I'm never going to speak for God in terms of, like, what he's doing or why he's doing. But I do notice this one thing, this one pattern, which is when I pray for something and then God takes me on a different route to get it, it's usually that route that's different that prepares my heart to receive the answer that he wants to give me, right? Like, for example, there's been some things that you've noticed about me. I remember we were sitting in the car one day leaving the lake, and you were like, I asked you something. You're like, it's not time yet. And I was like, huh? I was like, what do you mean it's not? You're like, it's not time yet. And I don't know what that thing was, but I'm sure that you probably have seen me express it at some point and have been like, yep. Yeah, you smiling because you know it's true. Exactly. God will reveal things to her far before he reveals it to me. And the thing that's really amazing about it is her obedience to what the Spirit is sharing with her, but not necessarily telling her to release to me. Because another thing that's really important is, like, and these are people who might necessarily be, like, more spiritually adept, or God is sharing things with them on a regular basis about other people and other people's lives. Sometimes the Lord shares things with you for you to pray for them, or to keep them in your prayers, or to just be watchful about this particular thing. But it's not something that maybe he wants you to share out the jump, because you have no idea what kind of ground you're working with when you share this with them, right? It could be very hard soil, and if you try and plant that seed or water that seed, you know, it might not do anything. It might be too early. And you just have no idea about the timing of the Lord. And so there's been a lot of times when you have done that, and then come find out months later, the thing that I'm sharing is the thing that you were well aware of.